Whoa, what's going on to the hustlers out there? Welcome back to the Hustle Sports Fantasy Podcast. This is the football edition. You already know you sleep, you beat. I'm T Will. This week 16 was a fun one. If you made it to your fantasy championship game, congratulations. Salute to all the managers who made the playoffs, to everybody who put their fantasy skills to test this year. Salute to you. Hey, this is the final prep episode. We bringing it all. You already know how we do. Top performance recap, hustlers pick up, waiver wire scoop, risk it or bench it, hustlers energy lock pick of the week, and then the league shout out, fantasy community debate, and then we pack it on up and get up out of here. But before we do that, make sure y'all follow us on Instagram and Facebook at the Hustle Sports Network and on X at Hustle Sports Net. Let's go and get into it. Top performers for this week 16. It was crazy. Some staples. Chase Brown, first up, running back from the Cincinnati Bengals. Straight up carried this week. Straight up carry had 32.9 fantasy points, 12 carries, 66 yards, and a tutty. 4 catches, 43 yards, 2 tutties, 109 scrimmage yards. Hey, I called it. You know what I'm saying? He was my flex pick of the week for the midweek hustle. Chase Brown been heating up all year, all season, you know what I'm saying, over the last 6 weeks or so. So he did his thing. Hey, next up is my dog, Puka Nacua, wide receiver from the Rams, 46.5 fantasy points, carried me to the championship. Can't even front. 12 catches, 250, 225, yards, 2 touchdowns, even had 2 rushes for 8 yards. Puka really liked that. And the reason Puka had a crazy day is because Matthew Stafford had a crazy day. Top scoring quarterback for week 16, 35.45 points, had 457 yards, 3 touchdowns. He really did his thing. Like, I ain't gonna lie, that was a great game. Classic game between the Rams and the Seahawks on Thursday night. Next up, top scoring tight end, George Kittle, 24 and a half fantasy points, 7 catches, 115 yards, 1 tutty. Kittle really like that. He been like that for years. So if you got Kittle, throw him in the lineup. Keep him in the lineup. New Orleans Saints, my Saints, got a dub, got a crazy dub. Shuck looked like we look like we got something with Shuck. I like how he looked confident, looked poised. Anyway, that's the wrong side of the ball. The side of the ball I'm talking about is defense. Saints had 19 fantasy points, 6 points allowed, 1 pick, fumble recovery, 8 sacks on Brady Cook. Saints look good that day. 3 in a row. So yeah, you know what I mean? We got something cooking up down there in New Orleans. But hey, anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about who next up, though. Surprise usage spike in week 16. I ain't gonna lie, I was a few years early on this dude. Tyjae Spears. I thought he was gonna be something last year. Thought he was gonna be something the year before. It looked like it finally popped out in week 16. 13 rushes, 52 yards, averaging 4 yards a carry. Crazy day. 5 catches, 53 yards. Hey, he do big numbers in the passing game and on the ground is what you see right here. That's 18 total touches for 105. Great day. Snap count jumped up to 47%. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, great pass catching ability. Tyjae Spears, I was early on him, but hey, look like this the week. So yeah, I hit y'all with them top performers, the usage spike guys. Hey, before we keep it moving, we got to get on the injury recap. As always, we always praying for all these players to make sure, you know what I'm saying, they quality of life ain't damaged, beyond repair with some of these injuries. We pray that these players can, recover, get close to 100% as possible, because they sacrifice a lot to play the game of football. And hey, I for one, I appreciate it. So without further ado, let's go and get into it. Quinshawn Judkins, he had a nasty leg fracture. He out for the year. Gardner Minshew, unfortunately, tore the ACL right after Pat Mahomes tore the ACL. So they lost 2 quarterbacks in 2 weeks. Insane. Jordan Love, concussion. He left that Saturday night game. Malik Willis, shoulder injury. They both didn't return in that Saturday night game. Josh Allen had a foot injury, but he did return. Shedeur Sanders had a finger injury. He did return to the game. J.J. McCarthy and Marcus Mariota, they both hurt the right hand. Mariota also had a quad injury. Neither one of them returned to the game. Josh Jacobs, knee injury. We thinking this, or at least I'm seeing in the fantasy community, they thinking it's a re-injury of the same knee he been dealing with. He didn't return. Jordan Mason hurt his ankle. He didn't return. Aaron Jones hurt his ankle. He did return. Kamani Vidal hurt his neck. He didn't return. So, we hate to hear that. Pat Bryant also had a concussion. Ryan Flournoy had a knee injury, and Tyler Lockett had a wrist injury. None of them returned to the game. As I say, we hate to hear that. Prayers up for a speedy recovery and close to 100% as possible. And that was the injury recap. You know what I mean? So let's go and get into these hustler pickup. The waiver wire scoop. It's championship week, so I ain't give a lot. I only gave a few names. Week 16 gave us a couple names. It's time to cut bait for one last time this week. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna start up with the young boy from the Raiders, Trey Tucker. You know what I mean? He 31.5% rostered, 5.6%, 5.6 targets averaged over the last 6 games. He only had 9.4 points against Houston, but I ain't too worried about that. Houston defense been like that since week 1. He got a favorable matchup versus the Giants this upcoming week. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to wide receivers. If you need wide receiver help, he's a great ad for you for championship week to help get you to a dub. Trey Tucker locking in. Next up, tight end from the Seahawks, AJ Barner. He's 16% rostered. You know what I mean? His usage is his production is up and down. But this is what I will say. He averages 6 targets a game since week 11. He's steady. 15 points versus the Rams last week on Thursday. And now he faced a beatable Panthers defense. I believe the defense is solid, but it's pretty middle of the road in the passing game. You know what I mean? As well as points that's given up to tight ends over the course of the season. The Panthers are the epitome of mid. So I think AJ Barner got an opportunity to have a great day come Sunday against a good Panthers team. But I think this week he's a good ad, especially if you need tight end help, get you that dub. Last up, and I mentioned him on the usage ups, the upbringing, the uptick for the usage spike. Tyjae Spears, running back from the Titans, he's 30% rostered. Hey, Snapshot went up to 47% in week 16. Like I said, he had 13 rushes, 52 yards, 5 catches, 53 yards. It's 18 touches for 105, and he also had a rushing touchdown. Like the breakout game finally happened, and he did that against a good Chiefs defense. Now, don't get me wrong. I think with the injuries to the Chiefs, with them losing 2 quarterbacks in 2 weeks and also getting eliminated in one of the games that they lost, in the game that they lost Mahomes, I just think, it was a lot on the Chiefs going into that game. So maybe it's a one-off, who knows? But I think Spears definitely showed some big play potential in that game. And I like him as a waiver ad this week if you need running back help. I think it's a great pickup, you know what I mean, to help you get a dub. And you already know, there it is. It's the week 17 Hustlers pickup. You know what I mean? Do or die. No time for regrets. It's time to lock it in. It's time to risk it or nothing, baby. Next up, that's going to lead us perfectly into the segment of risk it and bench it. Risk it or bench it. Let's dive into the players that make the matchups that make you sweat. First up, I got Justin Herbert versus the Texans. I'm benching that. I'm benching that. Like I spoke on Texas or the Texans earlier. They allowed the fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. 4th ranked pass D. Please bench him. This Houston defense is for real. They ain't wavered not one time this season. I had them on the roster. I've definitely benefited from some of the good plays from Houston. And they forced turnovers. I don't trust Herbert this week. Do not trust Herbert this week. Next up, I got Ramondre Stevenson versus the Jets. I risk that. I'm risking that. I like that. Jets allow the 2nd most running back points in fantasy. Stevenson coming off of 78 total yards in a touchdown. If Henderson sit this week, you can start him comfortably. Now, obviously, if Henderson play, you may want to tread lightly. But like I say, if Travion sit, I trust Stevenson this week. He got a favorable matchup versus the Jets. You know, he's a great play this week. He's a great start if you got him. Kenneth Walker versus the Panthers. I picked on the Panthers earlier from the tight end position. I'm risking Kenneth Walker too. I'm risking that too. And I hope the Panthers clinch. I really do. But the Panthers allowed 116 rush yards a game, ninth most running back fantasy points. I think that's a great matchup for Kenneth Walker. And if Kenneth Walker got you to the championship this week, it's a great time to be playing them, to be starting them, to try to get a dub. Next up, Trey Tucker. I mentioned him in the waiver wire scoop in the Hustlers pickup. I really like this matchup. I really love this matchup. Giants 23rd versus the pass, fifth most fantasy points to wide receivers. Trey Tucker also averaging 5.5 targets a game, so in the last 6 weeks. So it's a solid gamble. It's a great gamble. Geno back. I know that may not mean a lot to some people, but I think it means enough for Trey Tucker to have a big day this weekend against the Giants. In the former Raider, Jacoby Myers versus the Colts. I'm risking that. I like that. And this is my favorite one on this list. You know what I mean? The Colts got the 31st ranked pass defense. You know, he got 3 straight games with 7 or more targets. Connection heating up with Trevor. You know what I mean? And there's no mistaking. It's no wonder that when Trevor started playing better, or when Jacoby get there and they finally, link up and they building a connection, Trevor starts playing better. Like that, and look, Trevor is on a burner like none other right now. He's going crazy. So I really love that matchup. Jacoby Myers versus the Colts. You could definitely risk that comfortably. It's my dog, Theo Johnson versus the Raiders. Hey, the mission is covered. We appreciate you. We appreciate you for sure. But this week, we got to bench you. The Raiders really lock up on defense. They really do. They really do. And especially towards the tight end. They only giving up 6.4 fantasy points a game to the tight end. And they only give up the third least amount of tight end yards at 600 on the year. Fade this with the quickness. Don't waste it. Don't waste no time. Don't even think about it. Fade Theo Johnson versus the Raiders, and because they really lock up. So yeah, those the risk of the bench calls. The tough start sits for the week. Hey, if you got questions, you got somebody you looking to start over another, or you don't know what to do, tap in on X. Hashtag Hustle Sports Fantasy Podcast at Hustle Sports Net. Hit us with them start sit questions. We're gonna help you get that dub. We're trying to get a dub. We're trying to get a chip. You know what we here for. We here for wins. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else. So with that being said, we're gonna keep it pushing to this Hustlers Energy Lock pick of the week. This who I locked the lock, and I'm throwing away the key on. This is my dog. This is my dog. I picked him, scooped him in the second round this year. It didn't work out the way I thought it was going to work for as a individual standpoint, but I am thankful that I'm here, to the championship to be able to play him because he got a great matchup this week. And that's Bucky Irving, my dog, Bucky Irving versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins ranked 27th against the run. You know what I mean? They also like 13th against the pass. So they kind of middle of the road in the pass, kind of solid. But Bucky can do both. He can run the ball. He in the passing game. He's just a playmaker. And his numbers they not ain't what you expected for second, third round pick. But he's solid since he came back. 76 scrimmage yards since he came back from injury. Got 4 games. He averaging 17 touches a game since coming back. So the usage is there. He got 2 TDs in the last 4 games. I believe this is a great matchup for Bucky to get that confidence back, to set up that winner-take-all matchup against the Panthers in Week 18 that Tampa Bay got looking at them. They staring down the barrel on that one. So I feel like if they want to have a chance come Week 18, they better make sure Bucky do it. It got anything to do with it, they better make sure he go crazy. That's who I'm locking the lock, and I'm throwing away the key with. Bucky Irving versus Miami, championship week. fantasy championship. Let's do it, baby. Hey, make sure y'all post y'all lock on X. Use the hashtag Hustle Sports Fantasy Podcast. Tag us at Hustle Sports Net. You know, hey, tap in. Show me who y'all lock are, or who y'all locks are, so we can see, so we can learn. That's what we here for. Community. Help us get better. Help us get dubs. You already know how it go. All right, so we at that point of the show where I'm doing the league shout out. Hey, this season was tough. First off, I want to shout out Wolfpack. You know what I'm saying? Congratulations to Wolfpack. He was number one in our league. He was 9-5. He had the best record. You know, he was up there. He was top 3 in points. He managed. He had a great draft. He did his thing, and it's no wonder you see him at the number 1 seed in the championship round. So, you know, hey, shout out to Wolfpack. But hey, all praises to the Most High God, man. I'm the manager of the Mission is Covert. And like I said, I had Bucky, I had Amarion Hampton. We dealt with injuries, and yet we still here. You know what I'm saying? That's management work. And it's above me. You know what I mean? I'm pressing the button, but I already know it's favor, baby. That's why I'm here. I already know that's why I'm here. So I'm thankful, grateful for the opportunity. Salute to the managers that made the playoffs. Y'all can see the playoff bracket right here, you know, and salute to the people who put their fantasy skills to the test this year. This year probably ain't work out the way you wanted it to, but good luck to you next year. But yeah, before we move on, again, I want to shout out manager of Wolfpack and good luck to you in the championship round. You know what I'm saying? We here, we at the end. It's that time of year, baby. So before we close the show out, you already know we got to hit these fantasy community debates. You know what I'm saying? It's stuff I see online, X, Reddit debates. You know what I'm saying? Good stuff. The question is, in a fantasy championship, is it riskier to hold injured stars, hoping they return, or drop them for a hot streamer to secure the title? Hey, and make sure y'all sign off in the comments because I want to hear y'all opinion. For me though, this is where I think if someone gets hurt, it's easier to let it go if you got information on when they'll come back or even if they'll come back. With Bucky and Amarion Hampton, at first it was week 10. Or not for Hampton, but for Bucky, at first it was week 10. Then it pushed to week 12, then week 13. You know what I mean? And it just kept moving. And, thankfully, it worked in my favor to still compete. But I think sometimes it go against you. I've had seasons where it went against me with injuries like that. So I think it just depends on if you got a clear timeline of when they coming back. So it's probably best if they out for the year, or for a fact, hey, week 7 or whatever the time frame is, they were week 17 in this case for championship week, they'll be back. They studs, you gotta wait to see if they're coming back. For instance, Drake London just returned in week 16. I had him in one of my leagues. Soon as I saw he was playing, he was in the lineup. You know what I mean? And he's one of those players where I'm not gonna sit him. I gotta see, he gotta lay a dub for me, and I gotta live with that. I'm living with that. So I think it just depends on who you have and what's the time frame on them coming back. Now, if it's somebody that's closer to the streamer and talent, or there's no chance of them coming back, obviously that's easy to do, But at least in championship week, at least scoop the streamer. That way you have the option to play them if it comes to that. If you're just leaving them out there, you can get a little risky in who you drop in the last week because there's only 1 week left. So yeah, scoop the streamer to make sure you secure it, and then you can play it by ear. But it really just depends on the timing of the injury, types of injuries, how they're going to play when they get back. It's so many different aspects that go into that. It's hard to give you just one answer, but I think the best answer is secure the streamer and then gather as much information as possible on your guy that you hope and come back, and then you can make an informed decision coming into the week. Because the thing is, it's balls to the wall at this point. Like, when you ain't got another week to come back and fix it, and it is what it is. So you got to live with it or die by it. So that's what it is. That's the fantasy community debate. Make sure y'all tap in. You know what I mean? Make sure y'all let me know what y'all thoughts are on that. I want to hear what y'all think, how y'all manage when y'all get to these points in the season, because that's when it gets harder. The decisions matter. The preparation matter. Everything you done in October, September, November, everything you done in those months, it comes up here. So let me know what y'all think. Say that's a wrap for the week 16 recap and the week 17 prep. We gave you the top performers, injury recap, waiver gems, risk it or bench it calls, and that energy lock pick. Follow us on on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at The Hustle Sports Network, and on X at Hustle Sports Net. Rate the show, share with your league mates. Appreciate it. Hey, I appreciate all the hustlers out there that's tapping in. You already know. And until next week, keep that energy up, keep that lineup tight. We're gonna come back one more episode for the championship recap. Hey, whether it's me speaking or Wolfpack speaking, the invite still stand. Good luck to y'all out there this week. And I appreciate y'all tapping in, hustlers. And as always, you already know, if you sleep, you beat. Hey, I'm T Will. Y'all holla.